You know the vibes. I told you yesterday I got to be quiet. I told you yesterday I got to be quiet when I do this, and today it's even quieter than before.
Oh man.
You're listening to Luke
Yeah.
Junior's podcast, brought to you by NBA 2K24. It's myself, Moments, alongside me as always, the three-time NBA champion, Mr. BJ Armstrong. And
Mhm.
BJ Armstrong, being a former NBA player who knows a thing or two about the playoffs and winning
No, I don't know. I
championships,
don't know
and he
anything,
has
Mo.
three of
I don't
them.
know.
And from what I gather about winning championships, is you got to have a championship mentality, right? So you see, like champions, they go to every game and they want to win. They don't just want to win; they want to destroy their opponent. They don't think, oh well, we can lose this one and then we'll win the next few, and so on and so forth. The Boston Celtics will not be winning a championship this season because for the second series in a row, they lost game two at home. This time against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who they blew out just a few nights ago. A Cleveland Cavaliers team without Jarrett Allen. And they absolutely got destroyed in embarrassing fashion. It was 118 to 94, the final score. The Celtics didn't even crack 100 points at home. BJ, you talk all the time about how important home court advantage is in the playoffs, and now the Cavaliers have got home court advantage. Let me give you some numbers because the reason why this game two loss against the Cavaliers for the Celtics is so much worse than losing game two against Miami is because the Cavaliers aren't a great road team, because you saw what happened whenever they went into Orlando in the first round. The Orlando Magic destroyed them. The Celtics need to have some pride in their home court. And this isn't a new thing. I'm going to give you some numbers here. This is the third straight game two loss at home for the Celtics. This is the seventh time in the last 8 playoff series that they've played that they've failed to sweep 2 home games. In the last 31 games they've played at home in the playoffs, they're 14 and 17. In their last 23 games on the road, they're 16 and 7. BJ, have you ever seen anything like this before in the NBA playoffs, that a team is better on the road than they are at home by a significant margin?
We've been watching the Celtics for years now.
No, no. Have you seen anyone other than the
Okay.
Celtics?
Oh, other than, well, just be specific. It's fascinating, interesting to watch.
For you, yeah. Infuriating for me.
I can't recall off the top, but I clearly I haven't seen a team with this unique perspective, but it's fascinating. So I'm not concerned. I mean, we saw this happen in the last round. I mean, Bo, we've been watching this for so long now that I've just kind of like, okay, this is their personality. Doesn't matter who's coaching them. This is what they do. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah. But in the
so
playoffs, as you say, you got to win the games you're supposed to win. This was a game they
absolutely.
were supposed to win. And if you play around like this, it might work against the Miami Heat. You can go and win 3 straight. It might work against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It might even work in the conference finals, but it's not going to work in the NBA finals. It's not going to work when you see the Timberwolves, when you see the Denver Nuggets, when you see the Mavericks, when you see the Thunder. They don't play around. The Celtics, it's just disappointing, right? Like, and it always just boils down to this. What's the one stat that can tell you if the Celtics have won or lost, BJ? Not the
Oh,
turnovers.
turnover
Not the
is not.
turnovers. No, they only had 7 tonight. What's the stat that will tell you a Joe Mazzulla team has won or lost? They shot
Threes.
8 of 35. That's 23% from behind the arc. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers shot 13 of 28. That's 46%. The Celtics, it sounds very basic, but if you're shooting a lot of threes and they're
Mhm.
not going in, it might be a good idea to stop shooting so many. Just a humble suggestion from my humble self. The Celtics dominated the paint. In the first quarter, they were 22-6 in terms of points in the paint. Sorry, the Cavs were dominating in the paint. My bad. Foolish of me to say it was the Celtics. The Cavaliers were dominating in the painted area. Evan Mobley got off to a super hot start in this game. He finished with 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Donovan Mitchell once again leading the Cavaliers with 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists. And remember, I told you before this series began that Karis LeVert always finds a way to play well against the Celtics. He came off the bench with 21 points. Darius Garland added 14, and Strus and Okoro had 12 apiece. Over for Boston, Jason Tatum got 25 in a more efficient shooting night than it was before. He also had 6 assists and 7 rebounds. Jaylen Brown only had 19, Horford 11. Derek White, you remember, BJ, I said I was going to shave my head if he keeps shooting like that. Lucky for me, my hair gets to stay. He finished 1 of 8 from behind the arc. Drew Holiday, 4 points. Now, Drew, if you're not scoring, you better damn well be playing some defense. And then I'm watching Donovan Mitchell do what he wants. So you just got your contract suspension. Now's not the time to relax. Okay. Now's the time to lock in. The only player that I actually liked watching from the Celtics tonight was Peyton Pritchard. He was the only Celtics player who shot over 50% from the field. Well, I guess Sam Hauser went 1 of 2 from the field. But yeah, Peyton Pritchard gave them 13 off the bench. But it was just an overall disgustingly disappointing performance. And I can't say I'm surprised. I can't say I'm surprised. Cleveland dominated them in pretty much every area of the game. 60 points in the paint to Boston's 44. You have, what, a 26-point advantage if scoring in the paint, and you end up winning the game by 24 points. It's pretty interesting to me, BJ. It's pretty interesting. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, well, something really stands out to me. I mean, without going too deep, I this is just the Celtics, and I have to, it's like with your kids, you have to accept their personality for who they are. This is the Celtics team. When things are looking good, just when you're ready to feel good, there's always this letdown. So, okay. But here's the thing that just is mind-boggling to me. They win the first game, but by 25 points.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Okay, and then they lose tonight by 24 points.
Mm-hmm.
And by my calculation, that's like a 49-point swing.
That's crazy.
Okay. Now, I'm concerned, okay, because you're looking from some level of consistency, right? If you're going to be bad, just be a consistent bad team. If you're going to be good, be a consistent good team. This is a 49-point swing at home from a championship caliber team. Now, my antennas are up. Now, I can be in denial and say, well, this is what they do. They lose a tough game. Mo, you don't lose by, boy, that's a large difference from one game to another.
See,
so I'm very concerned because I'm not looking at them from a team that should be, happy to be in the playoffs. Like, if you said this about the Oklahoma City Thunder, okay, I could take that. Okay, they had a good night, they had a bad night, but you know what? You're going to expect that with this young team. This is a championship caliber team. Yeah, well, this is a championship caliber team. So I'm concerned. I'm going to give you the microphone and let you do your thing, but I'm very concerned, Mo. This isn't something that I'm just going to overlook and say, well, here we go again, and they'll win game 3, which they might do it. But I'm concerned with this team from a championship lens.
Yes. I don't see them winning a championship. I call them an unserious team. I spoke about this earlier today. I've not seen the Celtics lock in on the defensive end like they did on that 2022 run when they made it to the NBA Finals. I've seen other teams lock in on the defensive end. I've not seen the Celtics play with that level of intensity necessary to win an NBA championship. If you came out tonight in game 2 and destroyed the Cavaliers by 30 points, yeah, their souls are going to be crushed for games 3 and 4. You can handle your business. Porzingis gets more time to recover. Al Horford gets more time to rest after he's been the starting center, so on and so forth. They didn't take care of business and do what they needed to do. They're just making life difficult for themselves. BJ, I make notes as I watch the games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've been doing this for years, but do you want to know what's in my notes, in my notepad for the third quarter of this Boston Celtics game?
Yes, what is it?
I wrote one sentence. And this is a family-friendly show, and I never ever swear on this show, but I'm going to have to hear. So if you're listening with your kids, mute for the next 10 seconds.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to mute. Okay, I'm going to mute.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay.
I wrote one sentence in my notes. The Celtics don't give a shit. Because I'm just watching them. And it's like they're playing a Monday night game in January. That's how little they cared when they were on the court today. I saw no fight, no intensity, and I just miss Ime Udoka and Marcus Smart being on this team. Because remember, when they've lost previously in the playoffs, there were all those reports about Marcus Smart throwing stuff around the locker room. that's really what ignited this team, and that's what turned their season around. The first time they started playing like this with Coach Ime Udoka was there. So they don't care, so I don't care anymore. And we're going to move on and talk about the Mavs and the Thunder because that was a more interesting game because both teams played with a lot of effort. And the Dallas Mavericks actually stole home court advantage by winning game two on the road, 119 to 110 against the OKC Thunder. Now, Luka Doncic, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. PJ Washington, a star in his role, 29 points. He was 7 of 11 from three. And obviously the OKC defensive strategy here was to leave these shooters open and make them score. Well, not score, but hope that they miss. And he said, okay, cool, thank you. Now, this is what I want to say is important to people. If you look at the box scores, it looks like Kyrie Irving struggled tonight. He finished with 9 points.
No, he didn't struggle.
No, I know. We're in my intro. 9 points, 25% from the field. But Kyrie Irving was amazing tonight. He contributed in every phase of the game. We're talking defensively, offensively, the extra effort plays. He had 11 assists. He had 2 blocks and 2 steals. And whether he's off the ball, on the ball, whatever it was, he played his role with this team absolutely perfectly. And he did what was necessary for his team to win the game tonight. Not every game has to be a huge scoring performance. We saw that in the last one. Donovan Mitchell started the game by getting his teammates involved, which is what opened up the game for him in the second half. Kyrie Irving in this made sure everybody ate, everybody got theirs, and his team walked away with a win. Tim Hardaway Jr. bounced back from a horrible performance and what's been a pretty bad season for him. He had 17 points coming off the bench tonight. Josh Green gave them 11 points off the bench. Daniel Gafford had 13 points in the game. But the most infuriating thing watching this game is I watched Daniel Gafford on every pick and roll. And I just think the Mavs would probably be up double digits if he just made the easy pass off the short roll, which is where you catch the ball in the pick and roll and just swing it out to the shooter because the help defenders come across. But he never makes those passes. I don't know if he's going to be able to learn how to do that before the next game because I think that would really help the Dallas offense. And Derek Lively also came into the game. Not a crazy stat line, but he was plus 18 in the minutes that he played. He made a huge impact in this one. Over for the OKC Thunder, Josh Giddey played 10 minutes and was minus 20, BJ. We had this conversation last time. I told you they shouldn't start him. Dallas were up 16-7 when Giddey was subbed out in the first quarter. And less than 2 minutes later, it was 19-15. They'd come all the way back into the game. And that run could have got out of hand. Josh Giddey then was minus 14 in the first half, and Mark Dagnall finally realized that he shouldn't start Josh Giddey, so he didn't start the second half, and Aaron Wiggins took his place, which was an adjustment that was very necessary. So I don't want to see any more Josh Giddey minutes in this series. I don't think this is the series for him to play in. He hurts their offense. He hurts their defense. So hopefully for OKC fans, there's not going to be more Giddey minutes. But Shea, 33-point triple-double. Jalen Williams, 20 points. Chet Holmgren, quite a night scoring wise. 1 from 6 from downtown. He had 11 points to go along with 6 rebounds and 6 assists. But what stood out to you from this game?
Well, the first thing is Kyrie Irving. I love when players contribute and participate in the game when they don't play well on the offensive end, because it's another example of team. It's another example of leadership. It's another example of how to affect winning. And he did that. He has been an excellent teammate since he's arrived there in Dallas. And then even more important than that is, listen, this young man has really just elevated the play. You know, he's been a good teammate. Well, how has he been a good teammate? Luka, you're seeing a version of Luka that we just haven't seen on a consistent basis. Luka is playing at a very elite level.
Even with his injury that you can clearly tell is hampering him.
Gafford, Lively, Tim Hardaway. I mean, these guys are like playing some really good basketball, okay? And, well, they're playing really good basketball because Kyrie Irving, I mean, he made a couple bounce passes tonight to like one, I think it was to Tim Hardaway Jr. That was just sensational, okay? This kid, PJ Washington, I think he had a career high.
Yep, 29.
I just like how Kyrie is playing. I like how he's leading. I mean, tonight he played literally like a point guard. I mean, he just does what's needed for this team. Luka is going to be Luka, but Kyrie kind of plugs in. He plugs and play. Well, you need me to score tonight, I'll do that. You need me to pass, I'll do that. You need me to run the team, Luka, you just do your thing, and I'll do that. And I got to give him credit. I mean, he's like the glue to this group, right? I've never seen him display this level of leadership, but it's been great to see. Really nice win for this team. Like I told you, was it last night we talked about it? I didn't know what to expect, but I thought this was an important game from OKC. And why did I say that? It's because this is the team that needs to protect home court, right? They fought for home court all year. Now Dallas has done it, and it's important for them to go back to Dallas and win a game. So that's going to be a big task going back to Dallas. But give Dallas credit. We've seen this movie before. Luka is hurt, but when he's hurt, okay, he still gets 29, 10, and 7.
And my favorite part of the game was the fans were chanting Luka sucks, and then he goes up against Lou Dort, who's the best defender on OKC, hits him with a turnaround mid-range jumper, nothing but net, and he just shouts into the crowd, "Luka, what?" And I'm like, "That's cold."
Oh, that's something
That's
Mo
cold.
would do. Oh,
That's cold.
that's what Mo would do.
You know the vibes. You know the vibes.
Yeah, that's what. But great job. Shea had 33, 12, and 8. Jaden Williams, those guys did it, but
Jalen Williams also gave them a nice spark off the bench. The other,
I always called him Jaden. I always call him Jaden. I don't know why I don't know. Jaden.
I don't know.
But Jalen Williams was great. When I say great, I mean, he's a young player, and I thought he showed up. But I think OKC is going to have to figure out up front with Chet Holmgren how to match the physicality of the game, just a little bit.
Yeah.
They're going to have to do. They're going to have to do.
Gaffer picked up what looked like an injury to his hand during this one as well, so we'll stay tuned on that to see what happens.
Right.
I just think if they don't play Josh Giddey, then they're going to win the series. He was minus 20 in 10 minutes, which is insane in a game you lose by 9 points. But we'll see what happens in game 3. We'll preview tonight's games, and we'll also talk about some of the coaching moves that are happening around the NBA. But first, BJ, a very important, serious issue has arisen from this podcast.
Okay, what happened?
Now, I treat our listeners here like family. I trust you guys, and I thought you guys trusted me. But I got in trouble today.
Oh, wow.
I got in trouble for my admiration of Miss Ice Spice. Some people have become very jealous of this because some people have texted them informing them of my love for Miss Ice Spice. So I would like to just say to my people on the podcast, if you're listening to this, no snitching. You know the vibes. Come on. We're just talking here. This is between me and you listening to this. We don't need to do you know what I'm saying? We don't need to do all of that. We can just keep it to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But in more serious news, I would actually like to congratulate Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel today was fired as the head coach of the Phoenix Suns. He was fired with 4 years left on his deal. So now he gets paid out for the next 4 years, and he doesn't have to deal with any of the drama as he becomes the latest fall guy in the NBA, as he takes the fall for a poorly constructed roster in Phoenix, and they begin searching for a new coach. And it looks like Mike Budenholzer is going to be the name at the top of their list. BJ, who do you think should be the next coach of the Phoenix Suns?
When I look at the roster as is, okay, and clearly I don't know anything about their team as far as speaking to any of their decision makers other than the business that I do with the Phoenix Suns. Most recently, talking about their draft, so forth and so on. However, I'm just looking at it from afar, I'm going, there's only one name that comes to mind, Darvin Ham. There's only one coach that comes to mind.
Why Darvin Ham?
Okay, and the reason being is the following. There's one variable that's required when you coach great players. You have to have a level of toughness that's necessary to coach a great player. Right? You can't allow when you have an opportunity to win, that is probably the most difficult thing to do. It's because you need a coach who's going to withstand the challenge of coaching a great player. You have to have a level of credibility where when that player challenges you, you have to be able to withstand that. And that just requires a level of toughness. Well, Darvin Ham and whoever gets that job, let me assure you, you have 3 players that's going to challenge them. You have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. And this team, whether they want to admit it or not, but I think they've admitted it. I looked at the press release today. The one word that kept coming up was championship.
Well, you're paying them all that money, so you traded all your future assets for them.
So, and there's one thing that's going to be needed to coach this team, and that's toughness. You need a person. When I say toughness, in this case, because toughness can be a lot of different things, you're going to have to be able to deal in a confrontational environment, right? The day after the season, I would think the very first press release or thing reported out of Phoenix, the day after the season was, they were unhappy about the offense.
Well, yeah, that was actually written before they got eliminated, and Shams was just ready to press release on that article.
Okay. Now, I would imagine if you are one of the top players on the team, that's a pretty simple conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Mo, I've in the pros, I've never been like, at that level where, like
at the level of Kevin Durant. Not many people in the world have been at that level in anything that they do.
They have 3 players that are considered a big 3, right? I'm not saying I know who did it, but I would think if any of those 3 players would have gone in and said, "Hey, coach, I want to be involved," the coach would have been like, "Sure." Why would he say sure? You're not winning anyway. So I would think, let's try something else.
Yep.
I would think. Now, that's just common sense. I don't think he would say, "Oh no, things are good."
What about big 3? It's just big me.
Yeah.
You think Frank Vogel really said that?
Yeah, I think he would be open to the possibility of like, let's try this. I mean, they've had a plethora of injuries. I don't think they haven't had a lead guard all year.
Nope.
They weren't winning
You've said
consistently.
this 100 times, right?
Yes.
The roster is flawed. It doesn't matter who your coach is. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter who your coach is.
But I would have
change that roster. But do you know who the players? What I've heard, the players who they want to be the coach.
Who's that?
They want Chauncey Billups to be the coach of this team.
Again, I think whoever gets Darvin Ham next as their coach, they're going to get a terrific coach. And I'm saying, and I look at it, and there are a lot of other people out there with good names, okay? But when you're saying this group, and the reason I say that, Bo, is because this is a 2 to 3 year window max as I'm looking at it. 2 to 3 year max before you have to start the process over again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's why I'm saying Darvin Ham, because Darvin Ham is a young coach. That was a very difficult situation, but I thought he did terrific there and as a first year, first time head coach. I thought he did excellent in LA. You throw him right into the fire. His first job is coaching the Lakers.
Yeah.
The Lakers and those players there. So I thought he did a terrific job. They got to the playoffs. He stood in the fire. It got hot in the kitchen, and he stood right there
with his hands in his pockets the whole way through.
But when it's all said and done, they played the Phoenix Sun. I mean, they played the Denver Nuggets. I thought they played them tough. every game they were up at half, and he had those guys playing.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's what I saw.
One
They
could
got
make
to
a
the
case that they could have
finals.
won more of those games had he
Okay.
coached it a little bit better, but that's neither here
Okay.
nor there.
Okay. And that's okay. But as a former player, the players play, the coaches coach. And I'm not blaming anything on those coaches because I don't see the coaches getting the loose balls. I don't see the coaches making the shots. I don't see the coaches playing defense. And you could sit there and have all these great game plans and all that stuff. Players play, coaches coach. And it's great when it works together. But again, he had them in position to win the game. And it's one thing. I remember Coach John Wooden would always say this. When you lose, no one deserves to be blamed. And when you win, no one person deserves all the credit. Okay? So we win together, we lose together. The Lakers lost. They had a chance, and no one can deny that. And when they won, hey, they won because everyone did whatever they did. Okay? So I'm not going to blame this one guy. I'm not going to give this one guy all the praise when they win. I just think Darvin Ham would be the right place, the right person for that job.
BJ, are you Darvin Ham's agent by any chance?
No, I'm not.
Because
you just asked me.
I don't think I've heard anyone in the media ever talk so positively about Darvin Ham. So,
well, I just what I see, like the game is when you see something in the game, you just what you see, like
fair play, fair play. Well, tell me what you see in tonight's games, because we've got game 3 between the Pacers and the Knicks.
Oh, wow.
No OG Anunoby for this one.
Oh, wow.
We might be seeing a lot of Alec Burks minutes, or we might just see the 5 stars never ever leave the game. Surely the Indiana Pacers have to win this one. I know Coach Rick Carlisle submitted a complaint of like 78 fouls to the NBA office to try and change them. And I'm like, brother, this team is missing half their roster, and you still can't beat them. How are you still blaming the referees at this point? Get over yourself, man. It's ridiculous.
I'm going to say this. I get what you're doing. I get what you're doing. Coach
I understand.
I get what you're doing. I understand it. Okay. However, let me tell you something. What you have to do. I get what you're doing. Okay, you're going to complain. You submitted 78 things. You're making your point. You're coaching in the media. You're bringing this attention. They're going home. Clearly, the hometown fans will be fired up and ready to go and boo every time the official makes a call. Okay, that's great. But you run a real risk here because you want your players to be able to play through whatever's going on. That no matter what's going on, you got to continue to play. And I always say this to my friends in the business that coach. I say this, Mo. I always ask, do I have permission to tell you the truth here?
He does always say that to me, and then he roasts me about my life. But go ahead.
No, because it is a true gift when you have the opportunity to speak both ways, right?
Facts.
Jeez, tell me the truth. I need truth tellers in my life.
That's a fact. If you don't tell me the truth, I don't want you around me.
Okay. And I always ask my friends, do I have permission?
You don't need permission on this show. We want the truth 100% of the time.
When I look at this team, I always tell my friends who coach your team, because that team will take on your personality. Now, I have the utmost respect for Rick Carlisle. I think he is a terrific coach. He's proven that throughout his career, so forth and so on. But if I were to talk to Coach Carlisle, I would say, Coach, point well taken. Now coach your team. Stop with all. You're spending so much time with the media that the guys now are having to answer the questions in the post game about you.
Yep. Did you
Coach
did
your
you
team.
did you see the clip I sent you of TJ McConnell?
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
didn't
real
look at
leadership
it.
there. So he said, it doesn't matter what the referees do, we need to be better, which is what the coach should be telling
We
them
tell it.
instead of complaining and blaming
Okay,
the referees for him not having a better game plan.
coach your team, and it's so important. Okay, we get upset about a call, we get upset about a game, we get upset about whatever. Play,
Mm-hmm.
keep playing. You
Mm-hmm.
you got to play through the mistakes of your teammates, mistakes of the referees, whatever is going on. You have to play. So if Coach Carlisle is listening, because I'm a big fan of Coach Carlisle. I'm a big fan. Like over the years, I've watched him coach, and he's been like coach of the year. I mean, he's terrific. But right now, we're just talking about the referees. Let's talk about the game plan. Let's talk about they have literally 6 players that they're playing, and we got to play.
And yet they look more ready in the fourth quarter than your
This is
guys
what I'm
do.
saying.
This is embarrassing. Like this, I
I
don't
don't
even want to
know.
talk about this anymore. I told you what you need to do. Number one, box out Josh Hart. Number two, play TJ McConnell more minutes. Number three, stop damn complaining. I don't want to talk about the Pacers no more. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Nuggets have had a bit more rest than usual compared to the other teams that are playing their second round series. They headed to Minnesota with the three-time MVP Nikola Jokic to try and steal a game on the road as they are trailing 2-0 in this series. Do you think they can get it done? And if so, what should their game plan be? Because there's not a lot they can do when the defense is hounding them like that.
Now, I have every reason to believe that Minnesota, looking how they've looked in the first 2 games, are going to win the series. But I'm just going to say I'm going to go against my intuition here. I'm just going to go against it because I have to believe that Jokic can win a game by himself in the series. I have to believe that. So I'm just going to say that I think Minnesota will win the series now, based on what I've seen. But I have to believe that Jokic is going to win a game, and he's going to win game 3. Okay, I just can't believe that he's going to get swept. I mean,
but he's
the
not.
MVP.
He's not an isolation player like a Jalen Brunson or a Luka Doncic who's going to walk you down and isolate over again and again and score 40 points. He's a reluctant scorer, right? He was a rather passable to
Okay,
open teammate.
he may be reluctant, but he better figure this out for one game. Now, do your reluctance dance in the rest of the series, but you got to win one game. He's too good to get swept. Now, I don't care what's going on. He's too good to be swept. Now, I know Minnesota's playing amazing basketball, but you just can't tell me that you're just going to sweep this guy. This is the MVP of the league. You're just going to sweep a team that's the defending champions, and he's the current MVP. That's pretty hard to believe. So I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, is that a stat, Mo? We track everything else. I don't think I've ever seen an MVP get swept.
The last MVP, let me find out. The last MVP to be swept in the playoffs. I guess technically Giannis but he was injured, so it didn't really count that year where they lost against Miami. Magic Johnson in 1989, the Pistons, but that was in the finals. He got swept.
Oh yeah, but
Before that, it was 77.
He got hurt though. He got hurt.
77 with Kareem getting swept by the Blazers in the conference final.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't recall a healthy
But like
player.
the Dirk 2007 wasn't a sweep, but that was very bad for the MVP who's just picked up the award.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, very rarely do you see something like that. I mean, and I just think it would be incredible if
Moses
that were to
Malone,
happen.
1979.
Okay.
Which is ironic because earlier this year we were debating if Moses Malone and Jokic who's higher on the all-time ranking list, which is pretty funny. But
yeah, I mean, again, I just think it would be amazing to say that.
Have some pride and win a game. Come on,
Yeah,
dog.
I think so I'm
Can you
going to
tell
say
the lack of sleep is starting to make me lose my patience with all of these guys?
I'm just going to say they're going to win game 3.
Um,
Minnesota wins game
I
4,
can't
and
see
then
it.
they
I
and then
can't
they
see it. Rudy's
and then
back
they
in the
finish it.
lineup. You couldn't even beat them without Rudy. I can't. I don't know how you unless like you have a game where the role players
I
actually
never
can hit
now
their
it's another
shots.
thing. I don't think I've ever heard you say that.
Yeah.
Rudy as being the impactful player that he is. How about that?
Well, they won without him. So
Hey,
I
how about a
was
shout out to Rudy, defensive player of the year?
yes. Shout out to Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year. Final time of his career before Wembanyama starts to take
Well,
over.
yes. Oh, you took the words right out of
Shout
my
out
mouth.
to
This is
Rudy.
the
What's he got?
last
Like four of them
time.
now? Four-time defensive player of the year.
That's pretty impressive, Mo.
Hey man. Hey, first ballot Hall of Famer, I'll tell you that.
Is there any doubt?
A lot of fans doubt it, but it's a fact. He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Four
Also,
times.
also, I can't wait for the Olympics. I can't wait because
Can't wait for what?
the Olympics,
Oh,
because we
yes.
could be talking about NBA champion Rudy Gobert's France team. How crazy would that be? How crazy would
No,
that be? And I would love to see Anthony Edwards try dunk on his teammate Rudy Gobert if they played in the Olympics. How about that?
You're going to see it for sure.
It would be like Vince Carter dunk against France. 2000.
I can't wait for. I'm really excited about the Summer Olympics.
We got to get you some tickets. We got to get you some plane tickets. We got to get you over here somehow, some way.
You know what I really want? I want a new experience in how to watch the game. That I'm going to just hold that thought in my head
I hear that.
because the game, like,
We have
I just want to know.
the Apple headset, the goggles.
I don't know what it is, but this is what I want. I mean, you'll have Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama.
I want to be not courtside. I want to be in the middle of the court. I want to be
I
on the
want to
court.
be in.
I
want to be
want
in the game.
I want Anthony Edwards to wear like a GoPro on his head, and I just get a live stream of what he's seeing during the game. That's what I want to see.
Okay,
that's what I want to see.
I don't,
Do you know what I mean?
I don't. Well, I don't know what you mean, but I just want to know.
Yeah, you don't know how to turn on your laptop most days, so
yes,
you definitely don't know what
exactly.
I mean.
I don't know, but I definitely want to.
I will show you. I will help you, and I will show you. Don't worry. But yeah, that's another episode. Look forward to tonight's games, and I'll be on your TV on Sunday. New York Knicks versus Indiana Pacers, game 4. So if the Knicks win tonight, that means it will be the potential chance to close out the series. I'll be on BBC 3, BBC iPlayer, breaking that down for you. Still missing BJ. I need to find a way to get him on there with me. You guys should just tweet and say that they need the dynamic duo. You know what I'm saying? You should just let them know. Let them know. But you know, it's a different network and XYZ politics. But appreciate each and every one of you guys who tunes in, regardless. BJ, appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow with more from the Hoop Genius podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the show, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. And most importantly, get buckets, unlike Josh Giddey.